Hey, this is Jennifer. How y'all doing? So today I want to talk to you about listening. Are you listening to your potential customer and understanding what they're talking about or saying to you, not just what they're saying? So more than anything, what we'll reveal today is that the mere fact of you listening will draw your potential customers to you like a magnet. The art of opening listening without judging, putting your own agenda aside to making the sales, will focus on the other person. The powerful of that will set you apart from any salesperson in your industry. But do we really listen to our prospect? Based on my experience of training students, we do not, unfortunately. You know, the funny thing is that we tend to listen the least to the people that we are closest to. Think about your spouse. Have they ever complained to you, "You just don't listen to me"? Well, this is how we normally listen to our potential customers. 45% of the time we are supposed to be listening, we are actually thinking about what we're fixing to say next. Another 45% of the time, we are waiting for a gap in the conversation so that we can spit out what we want to say. So sadly, we only listen 10% of the time to our prospects. So the question has to be asked, are we really listening when we're only spending 10% of the time doing that? Well, not really at all. It's impossible. So the average salesperson listens 10% of the time, where the seven-figure earner listens 100% of the time. Listening requires you to do something that 99% of salespeople flat out don't do. It requires you to let go your need of thinking about what you're going to say next and let your natural self take over. It requires you to listen and tap into what they're meaning to what they're saying, not just what they're saying, but actually go deeper into the conversation. And guess what happens? They start viewing you as the trusted authority rather than just another dreaded salesperson, okay? Being heard and understood is almost non-existent in the world of selling today. Why? Because it takes skills and work to have these skills. Listening forces you to slow down and to draw out quicker questions. Okay, when you slow down your questions, you have a better quality and a much better conversation. Once you learn how to become a skilled listener by working with me one-on-one, you will hold a competitive edge in the winning clients and keeping your clients no matter what happens. Well, lucky for you, most other salespeople don't take the time to learn this valuable skills. And because listening is not identified to selling, listening remains the advantage that the 6- and 7-figure earners are keeping to themselves. Simply by mastering this valuable skills, you will be more likely to be listened to than the other salesperson that are reaching out into your industry, okay? This will give you the sharpest competitive edge over all of your competitors, okay? Well, let's look at the flip side of this. Lazy listening dilutes your power of communicate, especially when the questions asked is wrong information that you're not being present on time, right? That you're not in there. Well, here's how the 7-figure earner is the secret of what listening will do for you. See, listening creates value in what you're offering. When you ask the qualifying questions and you listen, it shows you give them the respect and honor of their prospects' opinions and the way that they feel. When you listen and ask them to expound on that answer, you actually find out what most customers really want. And they want to listen to you and be associated with you and do business with you simply because you took the time to listen to them. Listen makes you smarter. It makes you appear smarter, but it also makes you become smarter. Did you know that the most successful earners, the top 1%, are the best listeners? They know that they only get their prospects to change their mind in their certain situation if they understand that first. You don't have to do that by talking. Listening eliminates mistakes. You know, we've all been in the situation where somebody asked you to do a job and you thought you heard the same instruction, and when you finished it, you found out that what they said and what they meant are totally two different things, and you messed up. And they blame it on poor communication. Well, this will be close. I mean, this is very costly when you're a salesperson. It will cost you thousands of dollars in missed commissions and missed relationships with your potential customer. The truth is that eliminating costly mistakes, when you eliminate this mistake, you actually make more sales. So how do we listen to our potential customers? Okay, I'll give you a few clues here today. First, we are human beings, can actually think 10 times faster than we can talk. And you know how fast I can talk, right? Did you know that? You know, of course, you've got to get to what their you know about your products and your solutions. When you listen to what is behind their problems, they will tell you by your skilled questions that I can show you, you will automatically connect with that person, and they want the current feature of your solution, okay? It always uses the analyzing with my training when I'm training my student. The average salespeople, when they're talking about their product, their solution, or they're trying to persuade a person to buy, it's like they're throwing a bucket of mud up against the wall and hope something sticks, or see if it sticks. But a 7-figure earner, they don't go through all that, because they know their listening skills and asking the right type of questions at the right time, it will draw the answer of the prospect's answer to them. So they know what mud that will stick, because the clients has already told them, okay? You don't have to be guessing anymore when you're selling and hoping that you get lucky. In our industry, in the sales world, we call that hopeism, okay? It's like a drug. You make your presentation, we hope some of it will connect to our potential customer, but that's just all it is. It's hope, okay? Why would you want to go into a sales presentation and go through all that work if you're just hoping to make the sales? See, the 7-figure earners, they never have to hope. They already know what's wrong with the problem by asking these skilled questions. So later on in the conversation, they can use those features to solve the problem they've already told them about, okay? So here's the number 2 clue, is that they stop interpreting what people say based on your own experience. You know, we all come from different backgrounds, and we all have different experiences that are unique to us. So that's another clue, to be able to listen 100% of the time. You'll be able to know what to say next by the answers your potential customers already gave you in those previous questions. It's all there. You just must have to listen to the answer. Most salesperson listens selectively, only listening to what they want to hear, okay? So let's go over 4 of these active listening skills, okay? Number 1, being present and being aware. Have you ever noticed that when you're talking to somebody and you're in deep conversation with them and they get a text message, and while you're still talking to them, they pick that phone up and they look? How did that make you feel? What did you think about that at that time? What was your feelings about that person? Maybe you got a little annoyed, frustrated, or just felt like, okay, well, he don't even like me enough to pay attention to me, right? So when the other person seems to be communicated like that, they was not present in the conversation. You know, you didn't have value to them. So ask yourself, have you ever done that to one of your potential customers? Maybe not the text, but you know what I'm saying, not actively listening when you're doing your presentation in the conversation. So I would suggest that you break that habit right now, because the top 1% of salespeople in the field, they already don't have that habit. They listen, okay? So if you want to break that bad habit, allow me to guide you in being present and aware, and enables your brain to gather information of your potential customer saying and that information. If you listen and stay present in the presentation, will actually take you on the world of their entire world. All you got to do is that remember, every customer has a unique story. Let them tell their story. I would suggest you take some notes down so that you help stay aware, stay aware and present. Okay, if they're regular customers, and you have this experience, or my hairdresser, my bestie Marsha, okay, she has a book of all of her hair clients, color, their cut style, everything. She just updates them from time to time. Well, why not you do that to your customers? These are people that you want to build relationships with. Get in there. Have you gone, give the person your complete attention. Listen to what they're saying, and more important, their meaning, okay? Do not think what you're saying or you hearing. If you're not clear on it, ask them to explain why, okay? If you just say, I'm just saying that being present will set you apart 99% of the salespeople in whatever industry you're in. If you do this for your customers, will look at you, here's that word, the trusted authority, and look at other people as just being the salesperson trying to sell them something, okay? So the number 2 will be, the second skill is to be curious. Remember, you got to ask those questions. Have you ever been someone responded to a problem that you're telling them and they said, oh, I know what you need to do? Answer. Then how did that make you upset? Did that make you upset? Even though that if it made sense to you? Well, if you're like most people don't like to be told what to do, okay? Even if the other person is right. The reason is that the initial solution-based answer to the problem is based on a very limited information of what's really going on. It doesn't take into account what the actions, what's happening to them, what they've done, what they've been through, right? So you must be, you were told what to do, right? And you didn't like it because it didn't make you feel that you're part of the process, even though you asked them to help you, okay? How did you think that might have felt if instead of them come up with, oh, I know what you should have done, if they followed it up with a question, well, how did that make you feel? Tell me more, how, expand on that, get deeper into it, okay? It's the same as your potential customers. So always remember to keep your statements, your solutions at bay until the appropriate time in the conversation to bring them out. Let your prospects do all the talking with the surface their problems, and by skilled questions you ask them, which I can teach you, let them bring themselves to their own conclusion, okay? They look for you. If you do this right, they will respect you and look to you as a trusted authority rather than just another salesperson trying to shove something down their throat. Remember, we don't have to interpret what our potential customer is saying based on your own background, your own experience, your own beliefs. So I would suggest that you would want to be fully understanding what your prospects are simply asking questions before making comments. Here's an example, okay? Like I said, instead of saying, you must feel bad, unless you really know what they're feeling, you can't really say that, okay? Turn that statement, instead of find out how they really feel. Ask your potential customer their view and make the both, make sure that you both are on the same page, okay? The next skill is to be knowledgeable. So questions like, so tell me, how do you feel about that? Let me see if I understand you correctly. So what I'm hearing you saying are, it seems to me it made you upset. Is that correct? So you're clarifying what they're asking or what they're saying so that you are on the same page with them. Now, let's talk about verbal pauses, okay? And here's the dreaded thing, the silence. Okay, but there's a purpose behind that. Have you ever been talking on a phone with a friend and something happens and you keep on talking, and then over a few minutes you say, hey, you still there? Well, what do you typically do? The silence in. Well, you probably, are you still there? You might have said something like that. Okay. This is where the power of verbal phrases comes into play in the communication process. Okay, verbal phrases will set you apart from other salespeople in your industry. Using some of these like "tell me more" or "I see" or "oh, I see. Is that right?" Okay, and you don't want to do that throughout the entire thing, but about every 7 to no more than 20 seconds, you want to say, okay, I see what you're saying, or, oh, is that right? Can you elaborate on that? Okay? Being silent and pausing that I can teach you, I have seen so many sales conversations break down because the salesperson asked the prospects a question and it didn't give them time to answer the question. If you're going to ask the question, give them the time to answer it. Okay? Have you ever had this done to you? A potential salesperson comes to you and they asked you a question and they didn't give you time to answer it, or they changed the subject, or they asked another question. Why do you do that? Because most people are uncomfortable with silence. Why is that? Because there's a gap in the conversation, and in the traditional sales, it has the fear of losing the sale. That's the main reason we don't feel comfortable with silence. The average, they lose control of the conversation. But I would suggest to you that it's actually the opposite. When you learn what I can teach you, being quiet actually puts you in control. Letting go of the control and attachment of making the sales, allows you the more open to your prospect's needs and feeling. And if you become more open, well, guess what? They're going to open up to you and tell you the truth. So when you have a chance and get out of that traditional sales and you want to break those old habits, imagine when you're open and the customer actually tells you the truth. Do you think that by learning these simple steps that I can show you by joining my team, do you think that you would make more sales? Oh yeah, you betcha. When you ask the question, be silent and be comfortable with that silence. Being quiet is not a trick or a closing tactic. It's just simply being respectful and courteous to the other person. Okay, well, think about this too. You sit down with your spouse and they want to talk about it. So if they talk, if you're in a calm environment, you listen to what they say, you ask them more questions, they actually, you actually start listening to them. How did that conversation end up? Okay, usually it goes good. So from my experience, to be a 7-figure earner is the first question your customer tells you is only going to be the first layer. Remember in my last video, we was talking about digging down deeper into the conversation to get down to their emotional feelings? Okay, well, that's how you do that. Don't give them time for your customers to answer your question. I mean, do give them time. I'm sorry. Yeah, do it. But don't break into the answer and give them. Okay, actual listening skills is to be understood. Have you ever been told somebody that you felt was completely wrong and went along all against your beliefs? Maybe you even got into, from your own experience, was wrong, and you got into a debate and arguing with that person. If you would have handled that prospect objection with a yes, but answer to, a yes, but answer to your kind of view, how do you think did you win that debate? Did you ever think that the person would change their minds to your point of view? Probably not, because you're debating and you're arguing with those people. What do you think will happen if, in spite you design to be right, you actually listen to the other person? What if they would went deeper into that once you do that? When you ask them deeper questions to expand on what they're coming from and why they're that way, and what if you all had doing without judgment and your own personal agenda and the point of view and any assumption, well, let me tell you what's going to happen. You will gain more understanding of where they're coming from. The other person on the subconscious level questions their own way of thinking as to listening to themselves answer your skilled questions that I can show you. Okay? It might have made a resonating point of view. They consider your point of view. They will be more open to listen to you and your way of thinking. Okay? A great author, The Habits of Highly Effective People, says, first seek to understand, and then be understood. Okay? Listening and accepting other point of view does not mean that you have to alter your way of thinking or even have to agree with them. When you suppress your own beliefs and your own experience and how you view your world, your prospects will be forced to listen to you and your point of view. They cannot help themselves. They see you as knowledgeable, accepting, and understanding this person. Okay? You will start hearing things that you've never heard in a conversation before. Things that they just didn't listen. Okay? The results can be just amazing just by understanding and writing and answering or asking the right questions and waiting for the answer. Okay? The key to being understanding. The first key is we have to accept without assumptions. Okay? If you keep getting average results until you learn how to go deeper into the conversation just by asking what do you mean, you will be shocked to see how people will open up to you. More sales are lost because salespeople assume they know and understand their customer's problem, which in fact they really don't. Why they don't? Because they fail to listen. Okay? Number 2 is accept without judgment and interpretation. Don't judge others by your own worldview. Again, we all come from different experience, backgrounds, so that's going to be one of the key factors. Let go your need to judge. Okay, just be present there. A 7-figure earner knows that if they give the answers to the customer, it's not the same as them persuading themselves. Okay, when a customer hears themselves talking and thinking about the words, they will automatically own the statement. It is so simple when the customer tells themselves from your skilled questions you have asked them why they want to do business with you. And that's what I'm saying. You're not persuading them. They're persuading themselves. So think about this. Being able to have this feature, okay, and molding your selling, such as talking about your features, your benefits, must be switched off if you're ever going to get more than that average results in selling and being that 1% earner in whatever industry you are. So, if you'd like to learn how to be the top 1% earner in your company, come join me and my team and allow me to guide you with the art of being a 7-figure earner. Message me and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Down below you can also put info. So until next time, y'all have a fabulous and get out and enjoy the day. We'll talk soon.